Harry Shelton, and what was the goalkeeper doing? He seemed to show him the near post and made it easy for him. Molino! Minnesota have won it in the very last minute of stoppage time. They've turned this game right on its head.
Rusnak has scored! Albert Rusnak picking up where he left off. Akinola! It's a splendid strike. And what a way to open the scoring. Ayo Akinola with only the second MLS goal of his young career.
Well, after their game was postponed yesterday, DC and Toronto finally taking the field, and this one was worth the wait. This was all TFC to start, too. Check this out from Ayo Akinola in the 12th minute. My goodness, what a strike, Kalen.
Brampton, represent. 20 years old, and we knew some young players were going to get a chance. No Josie Altidore in this one, and Akinola takes his opportunity well. 2 goals in the first half here. Could have maybe had a hat trick in the first half, and if not for a great save late, was right on the edge of that one. So big performance.
Well, this one, Moreno shown the red card. So DC down to 10 men. And
yeah, it was really all one-way traffic too in the first half, Suzanne. I mean, this game looked dead and dusted. I mean, 2 goals, a man advantage, and then in the second half, in comes Pipa Higuain. You see one, and you say, okay, well, maybe that's not that big a deal. 1 goal back, not good for Higuain. Until this happens, just a set piece kind of coming out of nowhere. And the 2 center backs combined for a big goal.
Unbelievably, DC United come back from a 2-0 deficit to end this one in a draw, 2-2. So here is a look at the Group C standings. Right now we have New England on top. And this is the Group C schedule coming up. Well, back to the standings. DC and Toronto both collecting 1 point. So we've got New England still up on top. Montreal at the bottom. They're going to take on Toronto soon. We'll get to that in a bit. And then this is the upcoming schedule for Group C. So check this out. It's gonna get busy. Toronto has.
I mean, Montreal TFC. You have to circle that one, right? I mean, that's a rivalry match, and you saw a little bit of the spirit coming out of the TFC side. So I would expect more fireworks, if anything, on that match on Thursday. Just
a bit. Well, what is up, everybody? Welcome on into MLS Today, presented by AT&T. I'm Susanna Collins, joined by Caitlin Carr. And if you weren't awake prior to this game, you are now, because my goodness, boy, did that deliver. Watching this one, as good as Toronto FC started this game, Kaylin, they go to 2-0 up. DC down to 10 men. I had basically given all 3 points to Toronto, but DC said, no, sir, nuh-uh. So when you look at this game, I mean, was this more, for you, was this more DC just, finding some character and some grit to come back and win? Or was it, what happened to Toronto? Was it more of a downfall on their part or a combination of both? What do you make of it?
Yeah, a little bit of both. I mean, definitely give DC a ton of credit for, they could have just kind of packed it in. And at one point, I thought the game was going to go where it would maybe be 3 and then 4. And it could just be a really ugly, devastating loss for DC United. But I think the interesting part to me was the substitutions from Greg Vanney, I think, changed the game. At the 65th minute, and this is something you would never see in a normal setting, and this is why this tournament is different. You're up 2-0, you're up a man, and you sub out essentially the entire back line, but specifically the 2 center backs. He took out Mavinga and Omar Gonzalez, brought in Zavaleta and Simon. And if you look at where the goals came from, the first one is Simon looking to play a little bit of a 1-2 out of the back with the center back split, opens up a huge space. He's sort of drifting wide, expecting the ball back, miscommunication. Next thing you know, there's a huge just window for Higuain to come through. And then Omar Gonzalez had been the matchup on Birnbaum all match on set pieces and had largely neutralized them. I mean, 2 of the best in MLS in the air. But then you lose that matchup, and the second goal comes. So here's the.
Can we talk about? Can we just talk about Pipa though for a quick sec? Because this guy.
You don't forget how to do that.
What a chip! He's filthy. Is he 35 years old?
I mean, yeah, I think he's technically a coach on the team, but he took everybody to school there on that one. That's and then here's the set piece here where you see the matchup, and it's Birnbaum is so dangerous, but you just see the way he just skies over. I think that's Zavaleta there. So just those little things where it's just a matchup change, a small shift where Vanney would never substitute. He even took out the right back as well. He took out Auro and put in Larea, and they have a lot of depth in the back, but to make that change on the fly is something that those players are not accustomed to.
Well, this is something we saw after the game. There was a scuffle on the field, and this game was pretty fiery throughout. But I wish we had seen more of this, because I'm not sure what actually instigated this fight, but tempers were running high here. I love it when Michael Bradley's just getting...
Yeah, him and Birnbaum were talking, and I know Bill Hamid was at the center of a lot of it as well. But look, this happens a lot more in preseason matches than you would ever know. You just wouldn't have cameras there. And I think in the regular season, with fans in stadiums, there's a different type of atmosphere where people kind of generally know what to expect. And in this situation, I don't know exactly what happened on the pitch, but sometimes there's a difference in expectations in how to handle a match. Nobody's ever been in this type of situation before, and somebody goes in too hard, somebody talks a little bit too much, and then next thing you know, words are exchanged. And then on top of it all, I mean, Toronto FC they have to be ready for this, because they have been the marked man in the Eastern Conference for a long time, and for a good reason. They've been to the ones winning MLS Cups and going to them back to back. So that's why I liked this group overall. When I looked at it from the beginning, when I said Toronto FC, DC, New England, Montreal, like, you don't think it's going to be like this between Toronto and Montreal? It's going to be like this in this group. In DC, New England, it's going to be like this throughout the MLS's back tournament, specifically in this group. So I would expect more bad blood, if anything.
More of that. Speaking of bad blood, we saw one red card, but we had a little text chain going during this game, and Kaylin thought for sure we were going to see a second red, and you thought that there should have been from Felipe. Is that correct?
Yes. He takes a long touch here. They're playing out of the back, and the more you watch it, the worse it is to me. I think this is very clearly a red card and should have been gone to video review and overturned. I don't know how it works in MLS, but that's just clearly over the ball, just studs up. Watch this left foot here.
Oof,
I mean, where's the ball?
Oh my goodness.
To me, that's not playing the ball.
Angle, you really see it.
That really endangers the safety of the opponent. Their force, whichever category you want to choose, to me, this is a red card. And Felipe gets to stay in the match, goes on to have a pivotal role where it's at this point, if you have two red cards and you play two men down, there's no way back into this match. So I thought that was the wrong decision to be made by the referee and the video review, and should have been overturned and given a red card.
I'm sure TFC will feel hard done by that as well. Another topic we want to talk about for TFC, Michael Bradley played the entire match. He had ankle surgery back in January to repair some cartilage and an injury that he had suffered actually in MLS Cup. What did you make of his play today, Kaylin?
He was excellent. I mean, he was excellent. He was controlling the ball, and I thought TFC played a near flawless match up until those substitutions were made. I mean, they were you could see from the beginning of the match, even that first time ball he plays into Akinola. I mean, he was sharp, he was lively, he was combining, he was getting around it, and really controlled the match for TFC. They got off to such a good start and were in complete control, which is why it would be so disappointing for them to have put a lot into the match and then come away with 1 point. Michael was excellent, and I think for TFC fans, if you were concerned about how he might recover from an injury and a long layoff, I think a lot of those questions were answered today.
Well, one notable from this match as well, no Josie Altidore, who was fit. This was apparently a coach's decision that was made before the game. But, I mean, didn't seem to matter for TFC. Obviously, Ayo Akinola did just fine up top. But what do you make of Josie not being included in the lineup for this one?
Well, let's actually start with Akinola, because I thought he was excellent. And we talked about depth being a factor in this tournament, and we talked about young players getting their opportunities. And he's taken his in the moments that he's had them in Toronto. But, the young kid from Brampton, I mean, this is just a moment where he finds that little bit of pocket, and he's sort of in between the center backs, and it goes, all right, am I going to pass him on from one to the next? And just a little bit of a hesitation there from Briant, thinking maybe Birnbaum's going to step, and he finds the gap through. If you're New England and Bruce Arena, this is the space where Gustavo Bo thrives. Right in that little pocket, we saw him score that goal just against Montreal in that same exact zone, right on top of the D, zone 14. So that will be something to watch going ahead. But Akinola took his opportunities. As far as it goes with Josie, I don't read too much into it. I think he got integrated into the team late. We've seen how I think Toronto FC is playing, judging by their decisions today, is playing the tournament in a cautious way. They are playing it with the health and safety of their players. That's why they made that line change of substitutions in the back line in 65, thinking, let's not get anybody injured. Let's move on. Let's continue with our players in good health. We've seen Josie Altidore have injury issues in the past. Risking him from the start of this match, or maybe even off the bench if he's only been with the team for 10 days at their training facility before they came to the tournament, I think they have to be very careful with him, and that's where I think maybe caution was the idea there with not suiting him up.
Josie also pretty vocal about not being in favor of those 9 a.m. starts, but I'm sure that had nothing.
Early mornings are tough for everybody.
Yeah, exactly. All right, well, let's take a look at the schedules for Group C, and coming up, we've got that matchup. We mentioned it between Montreal and Toronto. Now, Montreal coming off what was we're just going to say it, a lackluster performance in their first game. Toronto coming off what they are going to feel is a pretty disappointing draw today. Kaylin, what are you anticipating from that match? I mean, these are two teams that need to collect all 3 points, both of these.
Yeah, I think Toronto's going to have less time, so they're going to have a shorter window to recover, but I think that will be just fine. And for Montreal, I think they've had 7 days now with this being moved back, so that's a long time to be training, and I think they'll be very eager to get back on the pitch. I think what happened at the end of the match with Toronto and DC, and understanding how teams are going to play against Toronto and the emotion that goes into that, will be a little bit of a wake-up call, because I think they're gonna face the exact same thing from a Montreal side. And anytime these two teams face, whether there's fans, no fans, there's going to be some pride, and there's going to be some passion. So I'm expecting this match to not be tentative. We've seen a lot of matches in the past maybe get off to a slow start. I think this is one that both teams are going to know going into it that they're going to be up for a fight. So. I've got it circled Thursday night.
Well, then we have DC taking on the Revs who looked so good in their first game. But DC, maybe feeling a little bit of some momentum behind them after this come from behind draw that they were able to get today. How are they going to react in their next match?
Well, I think they're going to have to. They'll definitely feel good about the way they came back, and mostly, more than anything, with the fight to be able to do it. But there were some real issues with DC in the first 60 minutes where they were just not able to really find any rhythm. They were not able to. They were kind of chasing shadows for a long time, with Toronto FC having the lion's share of the ball. I believe they finished with a possession number in the 20s. So that's going to be an issue for them if they want to. Have success in this tournament. So I think they'll feel really good about coming back and more than anything, getting a little bit of a well-earned point just based on their fight. But they need to figure out what they're going to do with the ball and how they're going to play to create opportunities, because it was all Toronto for most of the day.